What up? How's everybody doing? Again, I am hopefully, fingers crossed, this is one of my last days out. Kind of depends on if I need to get knee surgery or not, but feeling pretty good. So fingers crossed again. But I'll keep you guys updated on whatever happens. Now we're gonna kind of work on wrapping up these slides over the next 2 days, and again, reminder tomorrow. You guys do have a quick check. Again, over everything that we cover that we have already covered thus far, including what we are covering today. So keep that in the back of your head. Now there are different neurotransmitters. Again, different neurotransmitters produce a wide variety of different effects. So, like with acetylcholine, again, we're looking at how that tells your muscles to contract. Dopamine controls mood and overall reward receptors. Serotonin helps regulate mood and sleep. Norepinephrine is a part of our flight and fry response, and all those endorphins reduce pain and boost your sense of well-being. Now, as we look at these again, I want you to think back about their overall role as either agonists or antagonists. So again, an agonist would be like an example of how a neurotransmitter activates receptors just like the real thing would. Whereas if it's an antagonist, again, all other chemicals block other chemicals, including these neurotransmitters, might block these receptors immediately. And a lot of different medications work by being either an antagonist or agonist, especially if those that affect our moods, pain, or any sort of movement. And that kind of leads us into this whole idea of SSRIs. Have always been a very hot topic, especially in the medical field. So, like one example of SSRIs would be like Zoloft. Zoloft again is a prime example of SSRI, and mainly again because it is a prescription depression drug that again works by increasing the overall levels of serotonin, and which again is that natural chemical balance within our body that deals with regulating our mood and sleep. So SSRIs work by blocking all these reuptake inhibitors again that we normally find along that axon terminal. So think of it like plugging up the vacuum that normally clears up serotonin from the synapse. So when serotonin stays in the synapse longer, it continues to boost our mood, and this is why SSRIs are usually used to treat depression and anxiety. All right, now let's talk about some of these different drugs that really can affect um, that can really affect our overall nervous system. Starting off with cocaine. So normally dopamine gets released again from that axon terminal into the synapse, and it does its job, and then it gets recycled back into the presynaptic neuron where it makes its way back up, and normally gets transported again via one of those vesicles back through that synapse, and is constantly recycled back through. But cocaine, in this instance, it attaches itself to this dopamine receptor, blocking it from pulling in all this dopamine. So instead of being cleaned up, dopamine just keeps building up in the synapse, and the postsynaptic neuron keeps firing over and over and over. So whenever you hear somebody talk about how cocaine being incredibly addictive, again, it's all based around again that constant flow of dopamine. So that leads to a lot of its addictive behaviors behind it. And another big one's ecstasy. So with ecstasy, it's mainly going to target serotonin. Again, it's responsible for mood regulation, sleep, and overall emotional balance. Your brain typically uses something called a serotonin reuptake transporter to recycle all that serotonin after it's being released. So again, whenever um, so with ecstasy, instead of serotonin being reuptaked back from using a transport protein, It instead pushes massive amounts of serotonin out into the synapse, even when no signal is even sent, and this causes a huge flow of serotonin, far in most cases way more than the brain can naturally handle. So that's why it often causes increased intense mood elevations, emotionally closed off, and it can really affect your overall body temperature regulation and can lead to hypothermia. And then heroin's another big one. So with heroin, we're looking at how it targets these opioid receptors. How it targets these opioid receptors, which again are normally responsible to endorphins, like the body's natural painkillers. But here's what's happening going on behind the scenes. Now there is a group of neurons that release GABA, again that non-essential protein inhibitor that causes this block of GABA. And then finally, we have our amphetamines, which include drugs like Adderall and illegal versions of it, and mimic the things of what dopamine does, but bind to dopamine receptors themselves. The bad part about it, though, is that real dopamine doesn't get taken back up into the presynaptic neuron. It just stays outside, causing the neuron pumping out more dopamine until it suddenly runs out. And over this time, we see this a lot of dopamine depletion and overstimulation of receptors damaging themselves. So tomorrow we'll talk more about all these different disorders, but in the meantime, hope you all have a great day.